Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Bold Predictions. I'm Zach Carpenter. He is Steve Mark. He's Jeff Ekstrom, and he is Greg Smith. And we are back for another edition after the Huskers bye week. So they face Illinois at 2:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Illinois right now is a 7.5 point favorite with a 50.5 point total. It's another Big Ten West showdown. I believe Bill Busch is his second game in a row. He's called it a monumental clash here, which obviously some of our subscribers would disagree with the term monumental for some of these games. But just to get us started off here, quick, Steve, what are your thoughts on the game, and then give us your first bold prediction here.
Yeah, it was interesting. My ears kind of perked up when Bill Busch said the word monumental again. I'm like, oh, great. Here we go again. But anyway, I think it's going to be monumental, especially on the line of scrimmage. I look at Illinois' offense. They average 45 carries per game, which is the most in the conference and definitely top 5 in the country. And yeah, they have a Heisman caliber running back in Chase Brown, and they want to run it north and south right at defenses and see if they can stop it. So I think it's going to be a monumental game at the line of scrimmage with Nebraska's defensive front, just to see if they can hold up against the Illini's run game. And then also when Nebraska's on offense, can the Husker O-line just keep Casey Thompson upright against what I think is a really talented Illini defensive front seven with Jerzon Newton, Keith Randall, really good true freshman from Florida by the name of Jackus. So, I just think there's going to be a showdown right now with the offensive line and Illinois' D line. And then on the flip side, Illinois' offensive line against Nebraska's defensive front seven. So that's where I'm going with this game. And then for a prediction, I'm thinking Illinois 27, Nebraska 17. I think Illinois comes in here and gets the win.
Yeah. Nebraska's offensive weakness does not match up well with Illinois' strength. One of the best pass rushes in the Big Ten and all the nation versus one of the worst offensive lines when it comes to pass protection in the conference and in the country. Jeff, what are we thinking? What's your I guess we'll go with bold predictions and final score predictions right away. We'll kick it off. What are you thinking when you look at this game?
Well, I feel sorry for Casey Thompson. That's how I'm feeling, because I was tempted to put will he survive on Saturday as my bold prediction, but I think Illinois gets 7 sacks. I just have no confidence in this offensive line to hold up. On the flip side, I mean, Nebraska had 2 weeks to prepare, but Illinois also has 2 weeks to prepare. So I'm trusting the guys over in Champaign to get that done. So I have Illinois going 7 sacks. It's a lot, but they have 4 out of the past 5 games. They've had 5 sacks, which is kind of a crazy number right there. And then obviously with 7 sacks, you're not losing that game. So I have Illinois taking care of business 27-14. I like it around that score, similar to what happened a couple weeks ago or last week against Minnesota when they won 26-14. So that's what I have.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I think it's going to come down to that pass rush versus the offensive line. They really haven't, like you said, Nebraska's offensive line hasn't proven it, whether they make changes or they don't with personnel. It hasn't made much of a difference so far. So we'll see on Saturday. Greg, what do we got here? What do you got? I'm coming hot.
I feel like based on kind of the Nebraska pessimism so far that has been talked about, I feel like this is coming in hot in this monumental battle between Illinois and Nebraska, to quote Bill Busch. Once again, I think that for my bold prediction, I'm going to go Marcus Washington. Has just been somebody I've been thinking about all week, considering all of the ties that he has. I think it's 4 different players on Illinois, or 3 or 4 different players on Illinois' team that he played with in high school, plus a coach that he played under. That's also now an assistant coach at Illinois. Because I've been thinking about him and he came up and spoke on Tuesday, my bold prediction is centered around him. I think that Marcus Washington is going to have a breakout game this weekend. His previous high for catches and receiving yards in the game was against Georgia Southern, the loss that kind of churned the season, I guess, for Nebraska, where he had 5 catches for 123 yards. I got him going over 125, so that can get bold. It's 2 yards, but it still counts. over his previous high. And I also, for a bonus, I'm just going to throw in there, so I don't know if it counts as a bonus, will also have a touchdown, his first touchdown as a Husker this season. I think that Trey Palmer is going to see a lot of attention. We've been talking so much about Trey Palmer and how well he's been doing, and rightfully so. At some point, there's going to be a defense that decides we're going to try to key on him and make someone else beat us. And so I think Marcus will get plenty of opportunities. Now, as far as my score prediction, I also feel like this is bold and will count as a bonus because I'm going to predict Nebraska to win this one. I think that they pull the upset here and win it 28-24 at home in a close game. And then we'll see how interesting things get around here.
Well, Greg, we're glad to have your Husker optimism up here as we're all being pessimistic. So I'll bring us right back down to that. With my bold prediction, I'm going with Chase Brown to pop off for 150 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. And maybe that's not totally would classify as too bold because Chase Brown, looking at quick stats, he's rushed for at least 100 yards in all 7 games this year, and in 5 of the 7 he's gone for 146 or more. He went for 180 against Minnesota in their last game out. So predicting a high yardage total for, like Steve said, a Heisman caliber of running back, or at least Heisman caliber production, and definitely a first team All Big Ten performer if he keeps this up. So that's why I think that's one reason that I think that he's going to finish with high numbers. They're going to feed him the ball against statistically the worst or second worst rushing defense in the conference. And something that Doug Bouchon at Rivals Orange and Blue News, he hit on this in our Q&A with him, that he's probably going to get his 100+ yards. And if Nebraska, when I asked him, what does Nebraska's defense have to do to sort of neutralize him? And he mentioned that you can't over pursue, you can't overrun, you need to wrap up against Chase Brown. And that does not match up well at all with what Nebraska's deficiencies have been this year. They on the perimeter, they have a tendency to over pursue, and that leads to more explosive run plays and just a bunch of yards after contact being racked up. So I see that happening throughout all afternoon, of him being able to break arm tackles on the perimeter. And Illinois I think they're going to wear on this Nebraska interior defensive line, like so many teams have done this year. I mean, Nebraska, you look at the stats, and they've given up 175 yards rushing or more in 5 of the 7 games. And Indiana's the only team who's rushed for less than 100 yards. So facing a potent rushing attack, I don't see why that really wouldn't happen based on all the evidence we have of this team's Illinois' offense and Nebraska's defense. So I just don't think it's a great matchup for them moving forward, but on Saturday. And that's why my final score prediction is matching up with Steve and Jeff's. I have Illinois 28, Nebraska 21. Again, that matches up pretty closely with what the over under is for this game. Like I said, it's 50.5 points. And Illinois minus 7.5 right now. So have Nebraska covering by 0.5 point. But again, and I can wrap this up with my final thought is, on the flip side, Nebraska's offense versus Illinois' defense, I think it comes down to can Nebraska come up with those explosive plays that their offense has been so reliant on all season. I'm not confident enough that they'll be able to get it done, combined with Illinois' pass rush and that secondary. But Steve, I kind of want everyone to give a final thought. I'm not sure, Steve, if you gave your bold prediction that first go around, so I'm gonna bring it back. Let you have a second go at it.
Yeah, let's rewind this, because I realized I did not actually say a prediction. I just got so excited about talking about the line of scrimmage. So my prediction is Tommy Hill is going to return all of his kickoff returns past the 25-yard line.
Whoa.
I know. Crazy. If he gets to 26, I'm still right. So let's just keep that in mind.
I don't know what's bolder, you predicting that or Greg predicting that Isaiah Garcia or whoever is going to return.
It was Ollie at that.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody who watched Tommy Hill return those kickoffs against Purdue saw that he was very, very close to popping a big one. And so I have it written down here. He returned 4 against Purdue. He got it to the 28, the 24, the 33, and then the 29-yard line. Look, he was really close. Nebraska has never really had a good kickoff returner recently. So I think Tommy Hill, him being the athlete that he is, just look at the position change with the coaching staff trying him at receiver. He's a really good athlete. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's big. He can take the punishment, I think. But yeah, I think against Illinois, and Illinois gave up a 92-yard kick return a couple weekends ago against Minnesota to a walk-on returner. So I think Tommy Hill has a really great chance to make a difference here with field position, and he will return. All of his kickoff returns will get past the 25-yard line against the Illini.
Well, there we go. Bold Steve's new nickname for you. Real quick, Jeff, Greg, you guys don't have to give another bold prediction, but just real quickly, any final thoughts that you guys have?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens at the linebacker position. Obviously, Nick Henrich's out for the year. Chris Glover is going to slide back over there. One of my other bold predictions was that they would combine for 20 or more tackles, just because I think Chase Brown is going to get to that second level, giving a lot of opportunities for those guys to get tackles. So I'm interested to see how they respond and how they perform, because I don't have a lot of confidence in the defensive line for Nebraska. So those guys are going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays, and they're going to have to make tackles, like we've mentioned, if they don't want Chase Brown breaking loose past that, 6, 7, 8-yard gains at a time. So looking at the linebackers this weekend.
Yeah, I think that I don't have an extra bold prediction, but I do just a thought on something that both Zach and Jeff talked about. If you guys' 2 predictions come true, it's a long day for Nebraska. If they get 7 sacks and Chase Brown goes for over 125 yards, this is a domination. But it's funny too, though. I guess my other thing is that with some of you guys' score predictions, what stood out to me is that I feel like even if Nebraska covered by half a point, it would feel like one of those games that wasn't as close as the final score indicated. I feel like we could also veer into that territory if my prediction, bold prediction, bonus of Nebraska springing the upset does not come true.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't remember. Did you say 27-14, Jeff? And Steve said 27-17. So I've got Nebraska losing another 1-score game, which was just I'm sure just be another knife dig into Nebraska. Into Husker Nation. But we will see on Saturday with, again, 2:30 p.m. kickoff from Memorial Stadium, afternoon game, thankfully. Not another night game. I think we're all thankful for that. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see when the ball kicks off on Saturday, whether or not any or all, probably not all, of these bold predictions comes true. But for Steve Marek, for Jeff Ekstrom, and Greg Smith, I'm Zach Carpenter, and thanks again for joining us for another edition of Bold Predictions.